She was just going to get birth control pills, a checkup, get a test, and her car got swarmed. She got screamed at and spit on. She tries to go now more on weekdays than weekends because there's not as many riders out there.
There used to be more small providers, and the regulations have just become more and more onerous to really interfere with Roe. It's a death by 1,000 cuts.
Remember what was expected of us. All governments will make access to reproductive health care and family planning services a basic right.
We are 49th in the union for access. We are 48th in the union, surpassed only by Mississippi and Oklahoma for the worst laws on women's reproductive health.
Really? That is really striking. I guess considering, where we are, I guess it kind of makes sense.
In the Missouri House of Representatives, we had some legislation come before us that really make it very difficult for a woman to go through with what I think is a tough decision for her. I served on the Special Standing Committee on Children and Families. They're trying to make a woman being coerced to have an abortion an issue, when the reality is a woman is just as likely to be coerced into not having an abortion. This legislation included things that said that if a male in the woman's life, if her significant other wanted her to have an abortion but then abused her, that a doctor would be held responsible, culpable for her going through with an abortion, because he would then have knowledge that she was coerced because of her abuser. I mean, it's so convoluted.
Every year, 25,000 women in the U.S. are impregnated as a result of rape. So if all of those women had prompt access to emergency contraception after the attack, we could lower that number to 3,000.
Things seem superficially better. People seem to think that access to emergency contraception is some sort of panacea. It's not, and especially not in Missouri. A lot of our counties are rural. About 25% of women living in these rural counties still would have to drive 30 miles or more to get EC if they had unprotected sex or they were sexually assaulted.
We will open the doors of education to all citizens, but especially to girls and women.
The Children and Families Committee, we just quit calling it Children and Families and call it all abortion all the time. The only thing that we heard that wasn't about abortion all year long, I think, was an immunization bill. And I thought, well, why are we hearing a bill about immunization? The fear was about this HPV. There's, that claim that if you somehow vaccinate young women so that they don't have cervical cancer, it will make them more promiscuous. So it connected to abortion too, maybe. It has been a very redundant experience of the same kind of bills week after week there, when there are so many children's issues and so many family issues that we should be looking at.
Immunizing a child is something like spraying a young fruit tree to prevent disease and to protect the young trees around it. In 1921, 12,000 children in Michigan had diphtheria, and almost 1,000 died. Last year, we cut the number of cases to 238, with only 23 deaths.
It is somewhat hard to believe, in retrospect, that Cairo was the first ever global forum that recognized the connection between women's health, the quality of women's lives, and human progress on a broader scale.
I remember when contraception was just becoming legal for married couples. Now, I was a young girl. It didn't affect me personally, but I remember thinking, my goodness, a little bit later, reflecting back, that wasn't really that long ago. I was graduating from high school in 1973 and getting ready to go to college when the whole issue of Roe v. Wade came up. And because I was at an age where those kinds of issues were very important to me and to the people around me, I became a strong proponent at that time that this was a woman's decision.
1/3 of all women in America will have a safe legal abortion in their lifetimes. 1/3 of all women make that a very common procedure, and these are good women who have found themselves in a situation that they don't want to be in and need a safe legal procedure to help them.
The couple I'm thinking about, no, they're not even together anymore. They broke up a month after she got the abortion.
I'd probably take the risk of like performing like self-induced abortion. That might sound incredibly like irrational, but I mean, that's how kind of adamant I am about not having a child right now and about like pursuing, you know, certain goals.
More than 215 million women worldwide lack access to the modern forms of contraception. And this contributes to the nearly 20 million unsafe abortions that take place every year.
Legislators in Missouri try to claim to be true to their Christian faith. They have to make sure that abortion is completely outlawed. If she wants to go to her minister, to her rabbi, to her clergy person, you know, of whatever faith she is, and to have that discussion about what's allowed within her faith, then that's fantastic. We want her to have the right to do that, but we certainly don't want her to have to ask her legislators' opinion.
If a woman's health and her well-being is a matter of doing away with the fetus or having a life as a happy home and cohesiveness, yes, she has the choice, and she has all choices.
The theological standpoint of conception as God had preordained it to start acting.
In my particular religion, life does not begin until the fetus has its head out and one shoulder. Then it is called baby.
Really?
Yes.
So when these people are on bed rest for months trying to protect their unborn child,
It's still a fetus.
Really?
Yes.
When I lay in bed with my daughter, who I delivered a month early, and I was in bed that whole time, that was the fetus.
Okay.
We are Jewish, and this is what we believe.
Okay, all right. I have got a bill in here that...
I really try to tell people whenever I get an opportunity that it polls well to tell people that this is just a health issue, and it gives our politicians cover, because I'm not going to recommend that you run all over mid-Missouri if you're a candidate for office dropping the A-bomb. I'm not. But when we only talk about women's health and not about constitutional rights or women's rights to autonomy, we enable our politicians to give us half a loaf on women's reproductive health, and then that has a domino effect. So then it becomes how well we care for our children, you know, everything, every issue that affects women, women become expendable in the political calculus.
Whatever you believe in, you always want to make sure that you elect people that have the same values so that those issues that they believe in will come forward, will be part of the agenda that the legislature can discuss and debate and craft legislation around going forward.
Let's try to create institutional and structural change that does not get wiped away when the political winds blow.
This, then, is the story of reproduction. A story which any parent should fully understand, not only to ensure the arrival of a healthy child, but also to cope with the sensitive minds of children, your children, throughout successive stages in their constant search for knowledge. On your answers may well depend the physical and emotional health of future generations.